Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. We start with a pair of trousers, and we talk about the afterthought, the aftermath, and the kind of speed and the spontaneity of the work. Well, I'm now putting a pair of trousers in down here, but I might knock them out in a minute to stick a bridge in here and a couple of large heads. These being some of the things which really kind of interest me, Now look, I'm going to put a line here, and it is essential that I actually do them in one hit. That's what I always attempt to do, and I'm excited by this element of risk.
We're standing in your studio with 4 very large grey panels surrounding us. You've just completed the stone carvings, which in fact have been installed in the Whitechapel Art Gallery today. What is the starting point for these paintings?
Well, the first thing is I have to find an answer to that question, then I can begin. But I have a limited amount of time to do this work, and that's intentional because it's a risk situation. The starting point, I'll come back to that question a little later on if I can. But I might well start by using something which is already in existence. So I think I might just quickly draw in a which in fact one of the sculptures is called Bridgehead. Like bridge head. Sort of like that. You can see that I'm having a bit of difficulty because of the general size of the work. The thing is, I work in fits and starts. I tend to work when I'm working, I work very quickly. So I know what I'm doing to some extent. I know what the work is sort of about. I don't know what the work is entirely about, otherwise I wouldn't do it. The idea of bridgehead refers to kind of war, and I'm kind of interested in, at this time, in the cultural war being fought by various countries, mainly Germany, who I think are putting in an awful lot of money into the war, the cultural war machine. So I'm just started off by redrawing something which, in fact, one of the sculptures, I think I'm probably going to obliterate this in a minute. I'm also interested in how the war, as it's being fought in Germany, with the use of, as in the old, using the old thing, by the use of the symbol being the hat, and we know what that refers to, and also the shepherd's crook. There are certain heads, like you have. Let's say this is the European head, and this could be the Regan head, and this could be the unknown. And these works are kind of predictions for the aftermath. I think that what's occurred for the last couple of years in Europe is that the hat has cast a shadow all over Europe, and it did attempt about a year or two ago to try and cast a shadow over America. I don't really think that ploy worked. You may think that I'm sort of talking in riddles, and to some extent I am. Let's do my Rolf Harris bit here. Unfortunately, I haven't got my beard and spectacle kit. As you can see, I'm going to really have to deal with that hat. It's not really working very well. I'm just quite concerned about the fact that it's like a lot of people are making works as part of a machine, a cultural machine, and in a sense unknowingly doing this without actually having any real control over their own destiny. I mean, I am aware of the situation. I may have been caught up in that.
To what extent do you feel caught up in it? Because you have been identified with this resurgence of painting.
I think that I've actually managed somehow to stay free of it. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, he's selling stuff now. He's doing this, and he's got a big cigar and Calvin Klein underpants, and and that sort of thing." Which is, I don't smoke cigars now. I mean, I unfortunately don't have a pair of Calvin Klein underpants, but although nothing really against them. But no, I don't think I'm part of it. I think I managed to kind of actually carve out a situation for myself which is not related to these other people. I don't feel part of what they're doing. I don't think I've really been tagged, and I think the people who've put me in various shows, and I've been in a lot of shows, are beginning to realise is they can't tag me. And I think in relationship to our conversation last night about Schnabel and Sally and Kiefer and Clementi, who are doing something else, and some whose work I like immensely, I may say, particularly Schnabel. I don't really feel part of that. When I'm making a work which I feel is really going to give off some of the kind of energy and attitude that I have about things, it should be done with, it should be a really amazing performance. So in a sense, when I'm starting with a great big canvas like this, it's like a kind of stage, it's like a dance floor, it's like a whatever. I want to get on there and get moving around, and I'm working on the thing. I'm not coming back to look at it so much. I kind of go crash bang all over the thing and keep working. I go and come back and look at it. Then I might go rush back at it again and go, it might be 3 or 4 movements, and then I might come back again tomorrow and rework on it. Well, at least I started, Bill, I mean, it might not be much, but we've got something, which is and this is the hardest thing.
But you started with elements that are, in a sense, familiar, and you've written words like Regan,
Dilemma, McAlpine, style, lack of.
And those words and these sort of elements are a set of ideas that now, in a sense, form the stage upon which you're going to actually make the painting.
Yeah.
So in one sense or another, certainly all of the work I've seen that you've made has been figurative. One could describe it as figurative. I mean, have you actually ever made, or recently made, abstract paintings?
No.
What, never?
Never. It's to do with a human situation, a human
Yeah.
condition. It's to do with relationships and positionings of people in relationships that people will have to themselves and to other people, and how the spectator relates to the things as well. But what I actually quite like to do now, this is maybe my problem, but I quite like to go and have a beer out of the space with you, and then to come back and continue and see how it developed then. Because I tell you why I'm saying this, it sounds like really feeble and everything else. It's not actually. It's like I have so much time left to do this. I've got so many decisions I could make. There's so many possibilities I could deal with. And what I have to do, and this is quite an interesting point, I think, what I find interesting, is that because I've got so many notions in my head of things I want to do, I have to kind of build a situation where there is no time left, but this is it. And that's almost like making a performance. There's no time to go and get the other lump of cheese or to get the white trousers. You've got to make do with what you've got, and you've got to build it out of that. It's important for me not to have that much time in the space. For me, I have to keep working with the same stuff through and through and through and through and through, cheese, until it becomes a potato or a spoon, until the spoon becomes something else, a stirring mechanism. You were saying earlier on, there's one thing leads to another, and I say, well, and then you put under control maybe good strokes. I'm talking about the strokes, then you see the Christmas tree of Boyce there. Oh no. The McAlpin dilemma, the Saatchi trouser, who owns the cheese? The big line, the flare, the afterthought. I mean, it's like coming, It's conceptual art, Bill, really. It's bringing the two together. It's the greyness, the minimalist, the abstraction, and then there's a slight concept, the crunchability, the crumbleness. It's all coming back. This is the warm-up. This is the, as I said, this is the start. You actually saw me do something that is the way I want to do it. There's not a lot there, but that's the way it has to be.
So you painted, I should just say, you painted the bottom of the wedge of cheese.
I wanted it was wanging. It was wanging. It was like a drunken stroke. It was a bad stroke.
And you painted the circle out that was segmented. That is still ghosting through.
It's ghosting through, and I'll use that ghosting through again. I think it's enough. I stick it on the wall.
I've come back 2 days later now, and we're looking at the piece of work that we discussed just before we finished the recording session on the last occasion. A painting with the words, "Who owns the cheese?" etc. big, the flare. It has the slice of cheese and some painted out segmented circles, and in fact you haven't really changed it very much at all, have you? I mean, it's still very similar.
Well, as you can see, I've painted another cheese head, segmented cheese head in the top left-hand side, and I try to recreate the kind of painted out look in the Robert Morris paint it in, painted out, draw it in, rub it out tradition, you know, to give it more meaning. I'm not so sure about this one. In fact, I feel I've kind of interfered with it. I came in last night, looked at it, picked up a big lump of charcoal, whack, 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 on that, moved very quickly around to the next one, and going anti-clockwise, went straight onto this one here, whacked that in, portrait of the cheese players, which had been written on last night, and then very quickly straight onto Own Up, 2 segmented cheese heads, boom. The one that is for me the alla prima, and that isn't anything to do with rabbit skin glue, is like this one, where I just came straight up the stairs, straight in, picked the charcoal up and wallop.
This is the cheese players.
Yeah. It seems to need for me to get rid of all the garbage, you know, the tossing about the crimbles and the crumbles. We're going away from the crimbles and the crumbles again, you know, and the scumbles and the skimbles. We've got to remove all that again, you know. We've had a bit of fun, and now it's time for a period of austerity, I think, in the work. Do you think, Bill? The thing is, you see, that what happened was I never really have a preconceived idea to any great extent about what I want to do before I do it. Although I did have the notion for a long time that I wanted to make grey paintings, just a grey monochromatic thing with black lines on it, not dealing with painterly problems. And I'm not a painter, then I don't feel I ought to be dealing with painterly problems. I'm not interested in the pushing this and pulling this and things sitting over and above and things moving through and a bit of a blue passage around here and this sort of thing. I'm not that interested.
Coming in and seeing what you've done since we met 2 nights ago is that you've sort of stripped all the unessential, unnecessary elements, gestures away, and you're just now confronted with what is in fact the idea or the concept, the attitude. Well,
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. But maybe it's not stripped down enough yet. You know, I mean, I've done it very quickly. I mean, how do you make why, in fact, is there the head? Why am I using portrait of the cheese players?
But there is a tendency with a very complex surface, perhaps like the first image that you put together, that the actual complexity confuses yet supports the actual panel or the piece, because it overlays what may be a very interesting idea or a very weak idea with formal devices that actually allow the thing to maintain some sort of strength. Yeah, well, let's get rid of that. That's what we're saying, isn't it? Well, you've done that. You've got rid of it.
Yeah, I've done too much filling it up and padding it out. I mean, it's, you know, they're all the tricks. I mean, I'm not young anymore, you know, ish. I'm young. I mean, I'm pretty good looking, Bill. God alone knows, but I'm not that. Do you think? No, I'm not that. I mean, I've been around a bit. I mean, I know what you can do, know what you can't do. You know, I know about how you can do a bit of this and a bit of that, and that can be a problem. A formal art school education can be a bit of a major problem. And in fact, you see, it's also, of course, a very direct response to making the stone, which is a very slow bang, bang, 8 o'clock in the morning, all day long, bang, 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 standing, looking, fiddling. really looking. Then you can now got the latch and you go, yeah, boom. And maybe there's more said there than in the stone, you know. The fact that I've done the stone kind of allows me the mobility to do that. And that kind of allows me the kind of lack of mobility of the, whatever it is, to do the chunk, chunk, chunk.
The stone sculptures, which in fact were here up until 3 days ago, now have been moved into the Whitechapel Art Gallery.
Yeah.
You've seen them there, you've been involved with their installation. I mean, what is your feeling now about them out of this space and in the Whitechapel? Because presumably the gap of time and seeing them in another set of circumstances allows you to be, in a sense, objective about whether they've achieved what you set out to achieve.
The thing that interested me about using the stone and the fact they're big heavy lumps is you can kick them, you can run on them, you can break bits off, but you can't bloody move them. But if you look at the stone sculptures, there's like lumpy bits, and they're not smooth, they're not sawn blocks of stone. I just like the idea of the rock. And it is the rock, you know. It's not the hardest rock, and it's got a permanence, and you can stick it there, and you have to get a bloody crane to get it out and take it somewhere else to dump it. But it's kind of like, it's timeless, and it's not going anywhere. So it's to do with the kind of permanence of a thing. And also the idea was to do with like the kind of like memorials, you know, like art memorials. I mean, I don't want to go into that too much, but I'm getting a little bit edgy about the art situation for me again, and it seemed to be a kind of like a point that I should make some permanent sort of things which kind of mark or they're like milestones or millstones. There are millstones, boom, which have been put there, you see.
But there is a feeling there that you've made this work difficult to handle on purpose in terms of...
Well, a wee bit on purpose, actually, you know, yeah. There seems a tendency for people to be manufacturing stuff again for a bloody market which is either exists or is about to exist. And that is not what motivates me. I've just been looking at this one here again, the Who Owns the Cheese one, you know, and I think I'm really going to have to paint bits of it out.
This was the first painting you made after the complex one, which you painted over.
Yeah, but I've modified it already, and I think I'm going to modify it again. I think you said 2 nights ago that the painting is an additive thing, and the sculpture is a subtractive situation. And now what's actually happening here is the painting is becoming subtractive. So, which is causing me now to consider the possibility of actually really attacking these canvases and going completely over the top, and then starting consciously to put everything into the canvas, you know, like just taking one of the canvases. I'm not sure which one it might be. It might, in fact, be... I think it's going to be this one, in fact, the first one.
Who Owns the Cheese?
Yeah, and to really start on it, you know. Like violently getting everything on there, and then to eliminate rather, you know, maybe I should start the other way around, just as a way to work, that's all, just as a shift, just to try and maybe complement or a response to the, or a progress from the stone carving. I mean, it's all what I want to eradicate is in my head, but maybe what I have to do is to put it onto the canvas to then eradicate it. So maybe I'm going to do that. What you see here now and what you may see in the Whitechapel may not bear any resemblance to these paintings at all. I may not even show these paintings.
You wish to retain final options to the last minute.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What you do.
Oh, sure. Most certainly. I mean, I think that's crucial.
You seem to have stripped away a lot of what you've been involved with in the last 2 or 3 years in these works. I mean, it seems to have gone.
Yeah.
And we're left with some very direct strong statements.
Well, I hope so. But that's what it's about. It's like trying to get rid of all this stuff all the time, isn't it? It's the one gesture, the one move, the one smile, the one mark, the one hit